Tragedy has struck Minnesota, and a mother of three lost her life as she was attempting to obstruct ICE agents doing their job. Let's get into it. Before we go too far, my name is Casey. I've been a husband, father, therapist, and a concerned conservative man for more than a decade, and I have seen the desperation in our society, but I'm trying to build a future of faith, fatherhood, and freedom, and part of that is expressing ourselves in the midst of tragedies like this, no matter what this woman's motives were, no matter what the ICE agents maybe have done right or wrong, it's still a tragedy. Let's get into it. As Ruslan KD states in this brief synopsis of what was going on, the woman was driving her car into an ICE raid, and it appears by some of the witness accounts that she was perhaps the lead in a caravan of protesters that was coming to engage with the situation.
Now again, is she just in the way? Does she have the person? Is she the immigrant? I don't know. I don't know any of these particulars. They haven't released anything. We'll read the statement they released here in a second. But he's trying to get her out of the car. She starts driving towards this agent back here, and he decides to respond with lethal force because she's seemingly driving right into him. And there's even another angle that kind of shows, it's a little more grainy. Let's see if I can find it for you guys. But it appears to show him even getting clipped by this car. So this is Governor Tim Walz's response. Again, he's already in hot water. He just said he's not running again. This is his response to that statement. I've seen the video. Don't believe this propaganda machine. The state will ensure there's a full, fair, and expeditious investigation to ensure accountability.
Here is one of the eyewitness accounts stating that she was, quote, very effective in what she was trying to do, the young lady who lost her life. Watch this.
They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her, but she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there. Yeah.
So it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely, yeah.
As usual, Scott Jennings is trying to bring some robust synopsis of the argument from a conservative perspective on CNN. He says, what is it that has built into society that makes people come in caravans from out of state to try to protest the actions of federal agents? And in my opinion, they are simply trying to take advantage of, much like they did in 2020, the opportunity to try to put law enforcement in compromising situations so that they can get a political advantage and do what is most politically expedient for them. Watch that.
It strikes me that we are undergoing an epidemic of political vigilantism right now. Why are people showing up in vehicles, in convoys, not just in Minneapolis, but all over the country in an effort to obstruct lawful federal law enforcement activities? This is not an isolated incident. We have had hundreds of car rammings against ICE agents all over the country. Why are people believing that they can drive their car into a federal law enforcement situation and that is an appropriate thing to do? I understand they don't like the fact that these agents are enforcing existing immigration law, but that's not how we change laws in this country. If you don't like a law, you talk to the politicians. You don't drive your car into the middle of a building or a law enforcement situation that's being occupied by the people who are simply there to enforce the law. I call my congressman. Political vigilantism is being encouraged by Democratic officials like the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, Peggy Flanagan, who earlier this year told people to, quote, put your bodies on the line, and Tim Walz calling these guys Gestapo all year. What do you think happens when you radicalize a base of people about...
As you can see, there are some other pro-Venezuelan dictatorship protests that have been going on in Minnesota and elsewhere throughout the country. And really, the claims of truth that are being bandied back and forth between conservative and liberals are just not meeting in the middle. There is no truth claim that has moderation to it. And I support the actions that ICE are taking largely throughout the country, but I do recognize that law enforcement makes mistakes, and I think that these large-scale and oftentimes paid protesters are being integrated into the ICE actions so that they can put them in bad positions. But here's one of the protests that's been occurring all throughout the country. pro-Maduro protests, which are related because this kind of just blind negativity and negative perception of the Trump administration is what's driving many of these protesters. And no matter what Trump does, even if it's taking out someone who is exploiting their people, is seen as a political action that they just cannot accept. Add insult to injury, Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, and I don't know if he's the mayor of St. Paul too, but I think just Minneapolis, is adding to the situation that ICE should get the F out of his city, and he's essentially inciting these types of protests and these informal blockades of government action. He is promoting them to do more of the same.
Get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Much of what has gone on has been sort of spoken about by J.D. Vance on X, and I do think that he, in this case, is the administration's mouthpiece to try to get out the information that they want people to know. And you can watch the video yourself. There's obviously fault to be had on both sides, and there's the potential that this was an action that was obviously avoidable. But what J.D. Vance has said is that the gaslighting is off the charts and that he will have none of it. This guy was doing his job. She tried to stop him from doing his job. When he approached the car, she tried to hit him. And he said, it's a tragedy, absolutely, but tragedy that falls on this woman and all of the radicals who teach people that immigration is one type of law that rioters are allowed to interfere with. And that's really the brass tacks of it. If I get pulled over by a law enforcement officer, guess what I'm not doing? I'm not trying to pull the car forward. Even when I was being arrested much more frequently in my early adulthood, I would not have run because all things being equal, you know what's going to happen if you do. And that's when weapons get pulled on you. That's when bad things have the potential to happen. Additionally, Vance wrote this: I want every ICE officer to know that their president, vice president, and the administration stands behind them. To the radicals who are assaulting them, doxing them, and threatening them, congratulations. We're going to work even harder to enforce the law. And I think some of the purpose is this stochastic terrorism, which is a term that I actually hate because I think it's not completely founded in reality, but it is kind of turning up the temperature so that these ICE officers are more on edge, and probably the Minnesota PD itself, throughout Minneapolis or wherever, is also probably more on edge. They're more likely to think that their life is being threatened, and therefore their actions are going to be much more in that fight or flight amygdala lower brain response, which can promote drastic behaviors that wouldn't necessarily come out if you were in more of your right mind. And I think that is part of the purpose, is the temperature gets turned up. Bad things happen, of course, because when you try to interfere or blockade ICE agents throughout the country, of course, something like this was bound to happen, and it is a tragedy, but it was also an avoidable tragedy. My heart goes out to the 3 children that this woman had, along with the loved ones that are involved with this situation, as well as the ICE officer's life, which is now probably ruined because he has to have this on his conscience, whether it was justified or not. If you would like to try to form a future that these types of incidences are secured under the umbrella of a good faith society, a high trust society, I would love to try to build a community with you, because I believe that's still possible. I take the optimistic post-mill view that the 1,000-year reign of Christ and of God's kingdom on earth is still yet to come, and that we have a part to play in the ushering in of that kingdom. If you would like to do that together, even if you would like just to hear if that's even possible. If Christianity isn't your thing, I completely understand that. God created this world by creating order out of chaos, and I would love to try to improve a society or promote a society where my children get to live in an order that has been God ordained and good for them. If you would like to do that with me, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd love your support.